Welcome to Tresor Expansions. I'm Chloe Lula, the host of this show and a Tresor Club resident. With these interviews, we want to shed light on the artists closely affiliated with Tresor, longtime legends who have released on the label across the decades, past and present regulars in the booth, and up-and-comers who are just getting their foot in the door of the club. This month's episode follows a little bit of a different format than most other episodes in the series thus far. So instead of featuring an interview with an artist, we featured none other than Paul Ćinske, the head booker of Tresor. Together, we take a look under the hood of what goes into Tresor's creative direction, as well as the greatest challenges he faces in shaping a monthly musical narrative, joining the past, present, and future of electronic music, and adapting the programming to a city and creative landscape that is regularly changing. Ćinske also reveals a series of live showcases that will take place throughout this summer called Büro Siebzig, which gives a nod to Tresor founder Dimitri Hegemann's first club, which was called Fisch Büro. It was a home for creative community and Dadaist art in West Berlin. The Büro Siebzig series will kick off on July 3rd, and it will run every Thursday. This conversation contained really interesting insight into how to program a club and put community and creativity at the heart of an institution. Thanks so much for tuning in. Next up, Paul Ćinske. Hey, Paul.
Hello, pleasure to be here.
Yes, pleasure to have you. How are you doing?
Great. Yeah, not bad for a Monday.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Listeners, you're working behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. So tell us how long you've been the booker at Tresor and how that came about, what your curatorial vision has been.
Well, it goes a bit further back than just being the Tresor booker, because I've been with the club since 2015, originally from Stuttgart. There was a whole crew of us that came over once, unfortunately, the closure of Stuttgart happened. And I've been with the club ever since. I was the booker for for 9 years, and in 2022 I had the opportunity to take the reins of the Tresor bookings, and it's been one incredible experience. I'm really fortunate to have that, and yes, a person who on a whim moved to Berlin in 2013, I wouldn't imagine that I would be in this position right now.
Yeah, what a dream. I know you have a personal affinity with live music. Mm-hmm. What are those roots? What are you attracted to musically?
I think now not necessarily now, but definitely in the past half decade, from personal experience, I've noticed a shift in the cross-pollination of live music and electronic music. For various reasons, I'm sure that the producers and composers themselves would be able to explain why. But I definitely feel a renaissance of live performance, and also the ability for artists to contextualize club sounds with live performance, and the open-mindedness of guests to be able to understand that what they're hearing on the dance floor is also stems from a very rich history of live music. We now have the opportunity to present a deeper snapshot of the music scene through the Globus stage, which was renovated over during COVID. And
the sound system is absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah, Lambda Labs do a really, really incredible job, and the sound team just tirelessly maintain it week in, week out. So I'm really, really proud to be associated with that sound system. Yeah. So we now have a fully functional, band room or stage to present small capacity concerts in a different light. And we've been tinkering around with the different formats of what live music works, what needs to be adjusted for the following concerts. And after about 2.5 years, we feel it's the right time to present a very limited run but highly frequent every Thursday series.
Cool. Okay, well, so let's talk about the series. So in July and August, Globus, which is Tresor's upstairs dance floor, is going to host a curated series called Büro Siebzig on Thursday nights. Can you tell me a little bit about this concept and what it is?
Definitely. Well, for starters, we really needed to explore some different avenues for our Thursday nights. We've, since reopening in 2022, we've kind of tested the waters with different pure club formats. And whilst they were successful in their own right, we really wanted to reimagine what it would be to present a snapshot of Berlin's music scene, but on a Thursday night, a little bit, more relaxed, a little bit more, earlier start time at 9 p.m. So we had a think amongst the team, and we came up with Büro Siebzig. It will be a limited run concert series, followed by a klubnacht afterwards. And yeah, basically we wanted to present some really interesting live acts, basically a snapshot of all genres of music, and present it in a bit of a more digestible format.
What is the significance behind the name Büro Siebzig?
So it stems from a legendary art space in the mid-'80s, West Berlin, co-founded by Dimitri Hegemann, called Fisch Büro. And the legend of that space was started basically when Dimitri walked into a shoe shop, and the lady was, after a conversation with the lady, said she can no longer stay there and has 6 months left on the lease. And Dimitri and the co-founders took over the lease for, I think, 100 Deutschmarks a month. And basically their slogan, they hung up a sign that says turning consumers into producers. And that was the philosophy behind the space. It was to get everyone engaged and active in creating art, to laterally think about what is a means of creation. Basically, I like this as almost a breaking down of preconceptions of that art is for the elite and art is for the classically trained. It's everyone can create and everyone can make something. And in our archival research during the T31 festival in 2022, we came across a lot of footage, a lot of material, a lot of great stories, obviously, from Dimitri himself, about the space, about the time, and that was received really well when we exhibited it in 2022. Tracing back a little bit before the name, though, my whole fascination with the impact of spaces on subcultures, on the impact of the creative process, the more that I learn about art history and just particular pockets of art history, the more I'm fascinated with the venue being the focal point or the hub for artists, creative people to meet on a regular basis and exchange and share ideas. Mm-hmm. And it's important. I think a lot of this is a philosophy that I inherit from Dimitri as well, who knows the importance of cultural spaces, continues to share the importance to the Berlin government, to European-wide, actually. Anywhere he travels, he wants to make sure that people understand the impact of the nighttime economy, of the importance of what the potential of an abandoned space can be converted into. So stemming all those different variables together, I think this was a great way to pay homage to Büro Siebzig, to the Fisch Büro, and to continue the education of how important art spaces are to local communities.
I have to ask, you make this really interesting and I think very valid point about innovation arising more naturally in spaces that aren't so controlled. You've been in Berlin since 2013, and it's undergone a lot of changes in the last few years as money and industry has filtered in. So do you feel like that's in turn made clubs more institutionalized and clubs like Tresor, for example, more clinical and controlled?
That's a really fascinating question and insight. It has. I feel that it's more so impacted the DIY scene than anything else. People will always find avenues to be creative and put things on. However, restrictions and constraints that that may have to, how do I say this, that impact one subculture. I think people are always just going to find ways to work around that. For example, when I first moved here, and one of the things that definitely tied into the idea of Büro Siebzig was every Wednesday there was a meeting point it was called Vinyl Wednesdays. And it was just a bunch of fellow music enthusiasts that would buy records during the week, and then every Wednesday they would come and share what they've bought, basically. A couple of turntables, a very modest sound system. It was free, and through there, it was my first initial kind of networking, for the lack of dirty word, experience. I met a lot of like-minded people. I met a lot of friends that those friendships are still with me today. And I look back on a lot of record shops that I frequented. Record Loft, Bass Cadet Records were places where people just hung out, and I still feel that there's a lot of potential for that. However, the constraints, whether it's lease, like rental contracts, whether it's, the ability to not have to get a full-time job, to be able to have like a lot of free time to just hang out. I think that's definitely been impacted. But people will always find ways to create and to sidestep these pressures.
I realize I'm biased a bit, but I do see Tresor stepping into this role more, especially, or rather, like filling this space for like a community hangout, just with Hard Wax opening and the exhibitions. Then you have the garden where people can just come and have a drink and then check out. It's really communal in this way that I don't feel like that there are many spaces like that in Berlin at this moment. But okay, let's talk about Fisch Büro again. You mentioned to me that it wasn't really a space for music necessarily. What would the average person have found there who went there on a night?
From the archives and from the research that we've done, it was a mixture. There was morning lectures from Timothy Leary, and I still need to find out who ended up with the recordings, because they secretly recorded him. Wow. It was a very clandestine in its approach to get these recordings. There were reenactments, improvised theatre. I think there was a very famous German TV show from the 1950s called Was bin ich? And that it was almost like a what am I, who am I type of guessing game. And I believe that there was reenactments of that, except in the contemporary form at the time. It was a space for a lot of Dadaist artists, and places for people to just create. I think that there was it just allowed for ideas to cultivate. It influenced a lot of an artist's own processes, and I'm always just fascinated with these little stories that come from this one very short-lived space, and what was sparked from that. Yeah,
it's interesting because I don't feel like it's really part of like the canon of techno history. I wasn't very familiar with it actually before we prepared for this episode together. Right. Yeah. Well, it's actually the prototype or the precursor to the UFO club, because the minute that shut down, they all moved to UFO. So it was just a little slither before the club scene took over. Okay. Yeah. So you talked a little bit about what it symbolized, continues to symbolize. Why revisit it through this series you're curating now?
I think the lessons that I learned from working on the T31 exhibition and festival have stayed with me, and which was the importance of education and continual education, I should say, because a lot of things just get lost in history, and you can't rely on the people's eager and motivation and thirst for knowledge to kind of drive that ship, we really need to gently remind and have this conversation ongoing. I think this is not just localized to, our scene or to this particular project itself, but just as a greater importance of education and talking about things, remembering the history. But the feedback from the T31 exhibition was a lot of people didn't know the history of Berlin's club scene. People were learning about Jeff Mills for the first time. There was a lot of important reminders that we should be continuing talking about the connecting points of history with the club. The club's 34 years old, and it's a long time. Yeah. So, I think whenever we have the opportunity to share and discuss a part of history that is, we're all influenced from these moments, whether it's a specific point like a Fisch Büro, or if it's the fact that the lineage of something is now staying with us now. It should be good to talk about it and to acknowledge the fact that nothing's original in this, and all the ideas are original. And it's a great way to share some knowledge.
Are you going to explicitly make this connection between Fisch Büro and the series, like in Globus, as you're putting on these events?
Not particularly. We would like to run things parallel. We have some little surprises that we're going to be dropping throughout the 7 weeks. But just to be clear, we are using this as a reference point to kind of build on the community and artistic mentality of the space. The Globus space is one for sharing ideas, to bring, like you mentioned, it's becoming more and more of a cultural hub with the introduction of hard wax, and we just want to continue these ideas. And I think just it's a matter of acknowledging it, and while we're acknowledging it, we can educate a little bit, but not necessarily have everything identical. We're not trying to recreate the Fisch Büro at all. We're just, giving a little nod.
Okay, cool. One important facet of this series is its accessibility, and it's you've designed it to really be a community space to encourage a low barrier to entry.
Correct.
Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I mean, it ties a little bit into what we were touching on earlier, which is about the institutionalization of clubs, and not just in Berlin, but as a whole of the industry from the grassroots scene. And we thought it was very important that, not just because it's a Thursday night, but as a part of the entire holistic approach to this project, that we keep the entrance fee low, so it'll be €14. And it is to encourage people to come down and explore potentially new artists and new genres of music in the live sense, because the klubnacht is just a solid house night afterwards. But for the live performances, to encourage people to come down early, experience something new, maybe for the first time, or maybe I hope that some people really connect with the program and they know the artists that are playing, but definitely a way to attract new people down, new listeners down, and really support and acknowledge the importance of keeping some financial barriers low when possible.
I think that's great, considering how expensive going out and cost of living and everything has become. Yeah.
I think it's, and especially in a saturated city such as Berlin, where whether you're in the industry, working in the industry or not, if you're an avid fan of culture, there is something to do every day of the week. Mm-hmm. And that is overwhelming in every sense, let alone the financial sense. If you want to explore, if you want to enjoy and consume art and culture in the city, it's increasingly becoming difficult to get everything. And you have to really pick and choose, which is, that's also just part of life. But when there's an opportunity to be able to, allow for people to experience 2 things in the week instead of just one and have to choose, then we can, it's a great opportunity.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about that curation.
Sure.
We talked a little bit about the value of education.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Tresor and Dimitri have been very proactive in creating like educational programs,
Sure.
and like there's the Tresor Academy.
Correct. Yep.
And you recently gave a talk, or you led a
So
class?
basically, the Dimitri's latest project has been, it's now in its second year, the Tresor Academy. It's a part of the Tresor Foundation, and it gives opportunities to a new event. There's a specific criteria. They have to be studying. I'm not particularly sure the exact, so I won't go into those type of details. But last year was specifically for German residents of small towns, and it was to encourage people to stay in their small towns and build culture, rather than move to obviously a cultural hub like Berlin and have almost like a brain drain from their small town, and then it perpetuates the cycle of there's no understanding, there's a lack of understanding and the importance of a nightlife and a nighttime economy in those communities. So Dimitri's initiative starts with that objective, and I believe there was 8 candidates that came in from different parts of Germany, and it was a 8-week course, learning all the different facets of how not just Tresor but the industry works. And this year it was open up to EU-wide. So we had a very broad spectrum of people from different backgrounds and different levels of experience and different levels of like managing events and clubs and different stages of their study. So yeah, everyone within the Tresor department heads provided a short talk and a bit of an interactive workshop on their field of experience, and for mine was curation. So that was quite an experience. I really, really enjoyed it. It was now the second time I've had to stop and think about my work and put it into words instead of just actions.
Okay, so I guess on that note, what does it mean to give a nightlife institution a creative direction? What does that mean to you?
I think, as cliche as it sounds, the biggest thing is why. It always starts with why. Why are you doing a campaign? Why are you starting a night? Why are you booking this person? And you can always just keep extrapolating back why, until you get to the central point of, you know, the main aim of putting something on, curating something. And I think without that central purpose, that central aim, it really becomes a very fuzzy, ambiguous drop in the ocean. In terms of, it doesn't have to be a club night, it can be a exhibition, it could be anything. But if you're putting on something without a real purpose, you just want to make money. I mean, the why could be making money, but I feel that really steers the ship in terms of your direct creative direction. So I have said to these students, make sure you know your why and always keep referring back to it. Throughout the whole process when it comes to negotiations in a lineup, if you're getting stagnated or something like that, look back and go, okay, is this still aligned with the why I'm doing this? If not, then maybe I have to redefine the approach for this problem that I'm facing. And that definitely has been a strong benefit to my approach as well. Constantly just questioning, why are we doing this? Especially when you're in charge of a legacy brand or a legacy club such as Tresor, the why really needs to be there. And in our sense, the big why is education of history and the continuing legacy of the Berlin-Detroit connection is the main why.
Yeah. Well, I imagine that your job is really difficult and that you almost have to walk this tightrope between like really keeping the spirit, like the roots and the history of this history alive while also leading the conversation.
Sure.
And like in some ways, I feel like those interests could be at odds with each other.
100%. That's completely accurate. And I think there is a balance, and luckily that balance can be struck over a year. I mean, I'm a very seasonal. I have a very seasonal mindset when it comes to things. I need to categorize everything into a lot of temporal structures. Otherwise, I feel a little bit lost. And yearly for me, monthly, yearly is something that's kind of at the core of my curation. So I feel like I can tell a story and have a narrative over a month, and then that folds into over a year. And that allows, I think, that tricky trajectory of balancing contemporary with legacy without having to feel the pressure of going, oh, every weekend I need to make sure that I'm telling the story of Tresor, and that doesn't need to happen. It just needs to unfold, and it's a flux.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you an example of, like, when you say you have a narrative in mind for a month, like what would that look like in your head?
Ideally, it's usually to do with genres. I mean, obviously, it starts with our core residents and our core clients. Shouldn't be the right word, but the core people that we work with, whether it's certain labels, certain artists that we do the co-curations with. But basically, that frames the entire year. That narrative, that is the story of, like, okay, these are our residents, these are our legacy artists, these are the people that are releasing on the record label, and how do we tell that story? How do we communicate to the public that this is what we've been working on, and this has been a part of the club. In case you're new to Berlin, or in case you're new to Tresor, always have to keep that in mind as well, that people might not even have heard of the club, might not know the history. So it's a constant question of, okay, how do we communicate this across? And that's the kind of broad structure. And then within narrative within that is when you look at the genres across the month, is it balanced? Because we would like to think that people come, once or twice a month, maybe even once a week. And that needs to have, in this saturated market of Berlin's scene, it needs to have a bit of diversity, and something that allows people to go, oh, actually, I really want to see that. And look at next week and go, oh, actually, I really want to catch that. And that definitely is, I mean, there are many variables with that, but that definitely is the kind of overarching structure to the approach of monthly and yearly. But going back to the point about contemporary and legacy, our Aquabar nights, which is like the kind of electro-focused nights that we do, not regularly. We really try and make these special nights. Those are fantastic examples of threading the narrative between the contemporary and the legacy. So a lot of people, may not have known about the history of Drexciya, and that, however, that the genres of like electro and any bass music and footwork and a lot of these subgenres of music are connected and have history and have ties and have influences with electro and these particular artists from Detroit. So again, it's another important role for us to be able to communicate that, and the easiest way to communicate that is by putting on a night, because we don't have the luxury, obviously, of doing elaborate exhibitions and concert series and a lot of other ways of communicating the history. So it's in the club night, and that's kind of how we try to implement that. Yeah.
I have like a million questions now, so you can just tell me to shut up.
Go for it.
Well, okay. If you had to characterize the creative direction of Globus and Tresor in one sentence, would it be this threading between the past and the
100%,
the present, the future?
Yeah. I mean, but that's also, and that again, it's actually three. It's present and investing in the future, and I think that's a really important feature that Tresor has been the flagship host, or I guess how do I say this? Tresor has been at the forefront of investing in the future with its New Faces series for 2 decades now, or maybe a shorter period of time. I have to check on that, but it's been at least a decade that the New Faces series has been operating, and we see the benefits now of and the intrigue and the motivation a lot of young DJs have to play at New Faces. It's a wonderful opportunity for people to play on a good sound system in a club environment where it's packed from the get-go. There's no warming up on a Wednesday. It's straight in. And this allows the initial, seed to be planted that in a particular artist's vision or their own story of the future of their career. And also, fun fact, if it is a fun fact, it's a fact. We
A
can say
fact.
that. I mean,
A
it's
fact.
a fact. Tresor was the first club I went to, and it was New Faces.
Oh, no way.
So it was on a
Wow.
Wednesday night.
What a full circle.
There we go. Yeah. And that for me was, and at the time I was obviously an aspiring DJ as well. And yeah, to be at and to know the person that invited us to come down, who was playing, it was motivating. Wow, so they give the opportunity to play on a Wednesday night, and this club, this was eye opening for me at the time, and it's a really wonderful initiative that I still get to oversee, and I'm really blown away by the quality of, I guess, the next gen is the loose label that we can call these artists, people that have been DJing for under 5 years. I'm constantly blown away by the talent and the storytelling and the technical skill that these artists have.
Yeah. No, it's really, again, I'm biased, but I really feel that, since you and the people running the label stepped in a few years ago, you've totally breathed new life into the club, into the music that's being released, and you can really feel that in the energy of the space. And also just I was having a conversation with somebody who runs the label, Thomas, after I played one night, and we were just talking about Detroit and like his experience going to movements and the ways in which he was so inspired by how the festival makes space for and celebrates local artists, and how much of that he felt like mirrored what was happening at Tresor and like the ethos of the team. And yeah, no, I just have a deep appreciation for that.
Definitely. And the more I speak with Dimitri, and the more that I return to Detroit, Tresor makes the picture makes much more sense. The DIY, the grassroots, the constant support structure for the community space is ever present in Detroit, and it's really inspiring to see what is going on now and how the city itself has rebuilt over the past 15 years, 10 years. And it's having a great renaissance, and I think in general the East Coast is having a very incredible renaissance with the club scene, and meeting all these collectives and DIY groups and labels that are pouring everything into the electronic music scene there. It's wonderful, and I think, talking about maybe not the such scary word of institution, the positive side of institution, or institutionalization, is to be able to have the backbone and structure to support that when possible. So we're being able to now, since the reopening, it took a while, but to be able to initiate that exchange again, from Detroit to Berlin, and invite obviously the legacy artists, but now a whole talent pool worth of Detroit artists that are soon to be releasing on the label, or have played at the club already, and to continue that story. So it is that balance between the present and investing in the future, because there's always going to be room for a conversation about the future in current programming. And yeah, it's a very exciting time to be connecting back with the roots.
Let's talk about the Büro Siebzig series.
Let's do it.
You mentioned to me that you have a very distinct curatorial direction for this, and that you want to blend contemporary and traditional sounds, recontextualize traditional sounds in a club format. Tell me a little bit more about
Certainly.
that.
So, and this is all bracketed in with the live performance aspect, because the klubnachts are for it's summer. We just want people to come down and dance afterwards as well. There is a balance to strike between, I wouldn't say challenging music, because this is all danceable, very interesting music, the live performances, but it's very different too. We want something that's just a very interesting, engaging, high energy summer klubnacht straight after it. So I'll just be speaking exclusively for the live performances. The curation direction, the creative direction for the curation basically is a broad spectrum of different genres, everything from electro acid, psychedelic acid. We have EBM, some more sound design flavors, and then also something like neo soul and jazz, and a lot of different textures and representations of Berlin's very, very broad and engaging and an exciting music scene. We kicked the series off with a release party of the Tresor Records Black Sites album, which is Black Sites is a duo between Helena Hauff and FX from Hamburg. So first album in 11 years, I believe. 2014 was the last time they did a project. So we kicked the series off with that, and from there we go into more, as you mentioned, traditional, recontextualized folk music into the club realm with Istanbul Ghetto Club and Flower Storm. Both are using very traditional methods of folk music from their own heritage, and Persian and Turkish, I believe. They reimagine these sounds and these instruments into very high energy live sets, and I am always fascinated, and I'm always engaged in these performances where they're, again, another loop tide, but like going back to the roots and recontextualizing and educating people on the past, because I might not know anything about the oud or other Persian instruments, but then I hear this and do a bit of research on this sound and go, oh wow, and then I might find an artist from the 60s, go on NTS and see the history of oud players.
Yeah. But yeah, no, what Seper and Castrovier are doing with Flower Storm, it's so incredibly creative.
Yeah.
And creating a platform, because I think that Seper also runs the label where he's really
Correct.
showcasing Persian musicians. Really
And
cool.
Unfortunately, we can't do the AV, but they have a really cool. I think it's Diet Clinic is the visual artist that pairs with the new EP release. But yeah, really love what they're doing, and I love this project. So both them and Istanbul Ghetto Club the following weeks, and then we head into Mannequin Records on the 24th, I believe. And I've worked with Alessandro for a long time, back in the OM days, and we've always tried to shoehorn live performances into his nights. Always found it a little bit difficult to do, but the minute this concept was created, I gave him a call and said, okay, it's
Now's the time.
Break emergency glass. We're doing it. And we've got two live acts. We usually stick to the one format, but in this case we'll do two live. Silver Tears. It's a duo consisting of Curses and Skelecy.
Okay. Fun.
Yep. And Cozy Muller, solo post-punk, punk, synthwave acts. All the purists out there, please don't persecute me with that.
It's in the vicinity.
Yes. Yeah, there we go. And yeah, but the Silver Tears, I believe, is going to be a debut live because it's a relatively new project. And yeah, Cozy Miller, big fan of hers. Caught a few of her live performances online, unfortunately, but it fits exactly the type of energy that we were after for these shows. Then we move over to, so we have Forest Swords. That will be a live AV, a debut in Berlin, I believe. I've been a big fan of his since the Compassion EP back in 2017. And this one's slotted in very nicely because it's the only sound design style performance. There is a live saxophone as well. Very emotive, very epic, very cinematic soundscapes. And of course, with the AV aspect of it, it's quite the performance. And then in August, we move to August. We have final 3 performances or 3 weeks there. Coco Maria will be hosting her Club Coco night. Very interested by this suggestion from her, which is Peki Moms, a Turkish psychedelic disco band. 3 or 4 piece, very high energy, upbeat, very summer, very Coco Maria, obviously. Fun working with her and her team on coming up with that lineup and going through all the different ideas, all the bands that she wanted to showcase that were Berlin-based. And then we have a very special premiere. I would say European premiere. That's only just because they're from Australia, so they haven't had a chance. But Dylan Batelik has a new... he's the founder of Paper Cuts Records in Melbourne. And he has a new project called Radart. Trip hop, down tempo, very, very cool guitar project that he's coming up with. Again, another example of the richness and depth of Melbourne's producer talent pool. You know, I'm constantly blown away with the productions coming out of that town. Again, maybe a bit biased, although I'm from Brisbane, so I have a bit of I have a bit of objectivity there. for me was a great opportunity to present the Melbourne music scene and the cross-pollination between those artists that come to Berlin every summer. So there is a direct connection with why we've chose to work with them. And then finally, my personal favorite out of the lot is the finale, or I've been in the office calling it the Community Cup, even though there's no winner. I had to just call it the finale. And that is a three live acts. So Alias Era, Dunya and D-Monk, and Henry Weeks. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with any of those. Staples of the local I guess Refuge Worldwide community.
Oh, cool.
Very, very engaged in what the incredible work that whole collective is and the team behind that project has been doing over the past, I don't know how many years now.
Yeah, I think 5 or so.
Yeah, so I really wanted this night was almost a dedication to Refuge in a way, for all the work that they've done.
Transition, reminiscent. Ask me how I'm feeling, like my vitamin D level. I think I need healing, then started a new puzzle. Said you're my missing piece. What does that mean without your presence? I need to focus on myself, I'm in transition, reminiscent. Oh, with myself. I'm in transition, reminiscent. I see you watching me. So tell me why? What do you want from me? But you can't get nowhere else. What will I get from this? You should think about me too. You know I had to burn all my work to let go.
I had the privilege of working with them, I think in 2022 for their festival, which they did one of the events at OM. The curation and the ability for them to just highlight and support and platform local artists across Berlin was really inspiring, and I wanted to kind of pay a little bit of homage to them. So thank you to Richard and George for the inspiration to this lineup, and we have a really almost a very fitting way to round out the series.
Oh, well, I'm really looking forward to coming. I guess on just like a closing note, I mean, do you hope to program more bookings around live music and hybrid nights like this?
The aim for this project will be to continue this as a recurring summer series.
Great.
I think this is something that with enough support and with enough positive feedback, this can be something that we just lock in every 2 months, or for 2 months every year in this time frame. We will still have surprise concerts here and there. We actually work closely with Berlin and Atenal and do very spontaneous concerts through their programming, and we'll continue to do so. But in terms of the frequency and doing something weekly, I think we'll just keep that to summer. We still want to obviously present things at a high quality, and I mean, this project has been about 6 months in the making. So I think the capacity to do these things on a regular basis is limited, but with enough support, I really would love to see this next year. and maybe in a slightly expanded version in terms of the number of artists, or we keep it very, very humble and simple.
Cool. Beyond what's happening at Tresor, is there anything you hope to see more of from Berlin club culture and nightlife in general?
Ooh, good question. More collaborations. I think the cross-pollination of collectives and communities. I know that happens on some club nights on particular weekends like Pride or CSD weekend. And certain club festivals, as they're now being penned as, work. And I do see this definitely taking place over the past 18 months into this interdisciplinary format of art taking up a little bit of space in the club format, and vice versa, having some really thoughtful events. I would like to mention the Malt Collective. I think they're doing wonderful productions, and they were one of the things I wanted to kind of highlight as a kind of a regular hub for people to meet. They did everything on every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in 2023 at one space. Turn things over and turn exhibitions over. It was incredibly impressive to see what they did in such a short amount of time. And that built a very strong following over 1 year. And they now work with other collectives and do their own thing as well. But they're a great beacon of what the local Berlin scene, the cultural scene, is capable of in the next couple of years.
When can people when does this kick off?
Kicks off Thursday, July 3,
okay.
And runs every Thursday from 9 p.m. until the Thursday, the 21st of August.
Okay, great. Great. Well, it's been really great speaking with you and getting your insights. And I really look forward to attending these live shows, and the track list for all of these great projects will be released in the show notes. Thank you so much, Paul.
Oh, my pleasure. It was really enjoyable talking with you.
Thank you for listening to another installment of Tresor Expansions. In this episode, you heard The House of Gemini by Flower Storm, Uhrwerk by Black Sights, Remember by Silver Tears, I Am Soft by Cozy Mueller, Crow by Forest Swords, Flying Fox Colony by Radart, Yildiz by Pecky Momes, and I Left a Door Open by Dunia and D-Monk. The track playing in the introduction was the Tresor track by Mike Huckabee. If you liked what you heard, please check out the previous interviews in the series with Silent Servant, Helena Hoff, Road Medell, Lady Starlight, and Alum Oldham. You can find them on the Refuge Worldwide website, as well as by searching for Tresor Expansions on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen to audio. We'll be back again in 2 months. I'll see you next time.